Now the Democrat strategy. Let's talk about this final strategy. The Washington Post's Eugene Robinson is an MSNBC political analyst, and Charles Matassian is with the Politico, which is the hot charging news organ these days. Well, here are clips from some of the ads that House Democrats are running. Ohio's Betty Sutton, Arizona's Harry Mitchell, and Florida's Alan Grayson. He's a bit of a wild character at times. Well, let's listen to all three of them.
You've heard the old saying, buyer beware. So beware of dishonest used car salesman Tom Ganley. Ganley's been sued over 400 times for fraud, discrimination, and more.
Career politician David Schweikert. As treasurer, he had ethics problems and a record of mismanaging our money. Now he's a predatory real estate speculator.
He wants to force raped women to bear the child.
Submit to me.
Taliban Dan Webster. Hands off our bodies and our laws.
Submit to me. I don't know how to. There's some interesting editing going on there. He's obviously against abortion rights, even for victims of rape, apparently, according to that ad. But then it says, submit to me. What is this? Is this madman talk? Your thoughts, Gene, about these ads? Will they work at the last month?
Well, first of all, don't you love the creepy music in the background? They always have the creepy music. It sounds as if it's, you know, they're coming to get you. Look, defining the opponent is a time-honored strategy, and what else are the Democrats going to do? I think.
Well, don't they have an advantage here? Particularly these guys in the new.
That maybe some of that goes over the top, but you know, these incumbents in many cases are fighting for their political lives, and they're rightly asking questions about the Republicans and what they would do, and you can quibble about the manner in which they're doing it.
Well, the old argument, if the guy on the other sideline is bigger than you, you can knee him in the cojones. What do you think about that, Charles Matassian? The old argument, if you're smaller than the other guy, you have a right to play a little rougher than him. In this case, just being an incumbent is being smaller than the other guy, and they will probably argue, hey, if they can just broad brush us as the bad incumbents, the corrupt incumbents, we can go after their fact that nobody knows who they are.
Well, I think the point here is that the hour is late and the polling is grim out there. And, I mean, there's really not a lot that a lot of these candidates can do at this late hour. I mean, if you're, say, in the South, a Democratic candidate in the South, maybe the Mountain West, lots of regions of this country, your House Speaker's in a lot of trouble. Popularity-wise, your president's not that popular. The health care reform plan's not that popular. I mean, you've got a big drag out there, and you really have to throw whatever you have out there. Despite the success of the Democratic legislative agenda, it's not getting traction, so you have to throw something out there, and it's often a negative ad.
Well, I'm thinking, Gina, you know, the old song Strangers in the Night, by the way, which was, I think, the only #1 song that Frank ever sang, but it was a hell of a song. You can build a case about a stranger. You can't build about an Ike Skelton, for example, or a guy or a woman who's been around for a while. You can commit sort of infanticide, go after the person before anybody knows who they're. For example, Christine O'Donnell, all we know about her now is witchcraft, basically. It seems like that's a pretty easy target.
Yeah, that is an easy target, and I think I think in that race in particular, you'll see numbers continue to move in the direction of Coons as Bill Maher rolls out these snippets every week. It's going to affect some races like the scoreboard you just did. I mean, I think it's going to help. This sort of thing is helping Harry Reid, and he's going to pull that out, I think. I'm not quite so sure. It's very interesting that race in Kentucky has tightened. I'm not sure that Conway's going to get over the top against Rand Paul. And in Florida, it kind of looks like Marco Rubio is going to be the guy. Clearly, Christ and Meek are going to split what would be the Democratic and Independent vote, and I think Rubio's got it.
Let me open up this cantaloupe a little bit here. Here's Time Magazine's Mark Halpern writing, quote, "You wouldn't expect fat cats, Wall Streeters, free traders, bushies, and big business profiteers to fare much better than Democratic pals when proffered to an angry electorate, but Republican candidates with these career badges in many cases have opened up significant polling leads." Now, just get back to somewhat fair game here, Charles. If somebody comes out of nowhere and they're a self-financer or a Tea Partier and they come in with all that oomph behind them, isn't it fair game to simply tell people, wait a minute, in normal circumstances, this bucko would not be on your dance card?
Yeah, I think it's fair game. I wouldn't concede that a lot of these ads are fair. I mean, is it really fair to call somebody a member of the Taliban? I mean, no matter whether you like this person or hate them, is that fair? I mean, some of these really push the edge of the envelope. But when you talk about the Tea Party candidates and some of these other candidates, of course, they're very susceptible to this because they came out of nowhere. They didn't come through the farm system of American politics. They didn't serve in the legislature or in county council. So I think they're particularly susceptible to these kind of tough comparative ads.
Speaking of the new kids on the block and how vulnerable they are to attack ads if the Democrats air them, let's take a look at the new kids on the block. Here's the president today talking to a rally of young people. It's an audio, actually, of President Obama at a conference call. It's a conference call to college reporters around the country to get them gigged up. Here he is, the president.
And I just want to remind young people they've got to get re-engaged in this process, and they're going to have to vote in these midterm elections. You've got to take the time to find out where does your congressional candidate stand on various issues, where does your Senate candidate stand on various issues, and make an educated decision and participate in this process, because democracy is never a one-and-done proposition. It's something that requires sustained engagement, sustained involvement, and I just want to remind everybody of that.
So, Gene, why would he be doing a League of Women Voters ad like that? That was totally nonpartisan, Charles, as well. That is the most that wasn't exactly a cri de guerre, passionario speech. It was like, well, it'd be good for you to read the records of all the candidates and get the issues. I mean, is that because he knows young people, if they do vote, will probably vote Dem?
Yeah, he knows which way they're going to go if they vote. The problem for Democrats is getting young people, and especially those first-time Obama voters, those legions, to come out for midterm elections where they, young people usually vote in lower numbers, and there's a big question mark as to whether the new people, new voters that Obama energized and mobilized 2 years, in the 2008 cycle, can be energized and mobilized in the weeks we have left to vote in this election. But I think Democrats are pretty confident that if they can get them to the polls, they're going to have most of their votes.
You know what, Charles? I don't know about you, but as a father, I have that personal responsibility of getting my 3 kids to vote. And some of them are harder than others, but I really do feel, as long as they're in their 20s and I'm around, to hector them into voting.
Well, the good thing is I don't have to worry about that. My kids aren't anywhere close to voting age. But the issue here is, in this case, that's a demographic. If you look at the 18 to 29-year-olds, that went 66% for the president in 2008. By every sign that we see, there's very little enthusiasm among that demographic. In midterms, typically older people.
Why is that, Charles?
In midterms, typically older folks are the ones who show up in greater numbers. I think there are lots of folks that may be disillusioned or maybe don't have the same energy levels in 2008. So it's a very big concern that you hear from Democrats all the time, energizing the base. Why else would the president talk to a bunch of reporters, college reporters? He doesn't like reporters to begin with, let alone sit around with a bunch of college reporters.
Is that true? He doesn't like reporters?
Well,
you're ruining my day here. Let's take a look. Here's Politico's new battleground poll. It shows President Obama with a 65% personal approval. Now, that's sky high given the conditions of today. 46% job approval, not so great. 38% saying he deserves re-election. That's not great at all. 49% say Republicans in Congress would have a better job on the economy than the president would. That's pretty hefty. 51% say Republicans in Congress will do a better job creating jobs. That's a hefty advantage over the 40% who say the president. So, Gene, here we are back to that interesting gap between the president's popularity. People like his smile. They like his family manner, his wife. They like the kids. They like where he came from, I think, in most cases, or at least in a majority of cases. They like this, what we're watching here, him coming out, sprightly, a bit debonair, upbeat. They don't like the record so far.
No, some people don't like it. Some people are disillusioned. There are some people in those numbers who wish he had moved more quickly on his progressive agenda. So, but he remains personally popular, and that's why smart Republican strategists are saying, gee, we're looking pretty good in 2010, but don't anybody think this tells what's going to happen in 2012. This is still a very popular guy. Those legions of new voters, I think, can be remobilized to vote again for Barack Obama, or a whole lot of them. But the immediate question, can they be gotten out to the polls in 5 weeks?
A great question, Charles. It wasn't on my list to ask, but I'm going to ask you because you seem like a sophisticated guy of many parts. Do you think business can sit on those billions and trillions of dollars for 2 more years after they screw Obama this time? Are they going to keep sitting on their money so they don't invest and help the economy for 2 long years just to get Mr. Excitement, Mitt Romney, elected president? Would they do that to the country?
Well, I won't touch the first question, Chris, but
that was all one question, bro.
Well, I prefer to split it into 2. I'd say that I think what you're going to see the business community do is really go whole hog at this election right now, because either way, I think they can envision a scenario in which they lose. Because, for example, number one, if the president has a Republican House, that's probably going to be a rough scenario for them anyway, because that's what the White House wants if they want to get elected in 2012, reelected. It's probably the best case scenario for them. So, either way, I mean, I think they weigh the equities and, see it as a 50-50 endeavor.
Anyway, I just hope business starts spending. Anyway, thank you, Eugene Robinson. Thank you, Charles Matesian.